TGIF, thank God it's Friday. Good morning, wherever you're watching us from. This is Kirk in the Morning, the show that tries to put into perspective what has been happening through the week and also try to give you an easy transition into the weekend. We have a lot lined up for you today, and of course we're going to have a chat a lot on that with our guest. We are going to talk a lot on the Manifesto Fiesta, talk about the IBC result transmission dilemma and all of that in this show. But first things first, I'm going to introduce my guest later, but let's look what is happening on our roads this morning. All right, if you're on Mombasa Road headed to town, be sure that you're going to encounter a little bit of traffic, especially around the Nyayo roundabout. I'm looking at this is headed to, from Thika Road to town inbound. It's a little bit busy around Pangani, Ngara. It's a little bit busy. Looking at Ngong Road to Nairobi inbound, it's a little bit busy, but moving. But if you want to enjoy your journey to town, especially on Mombasa Road, then you have the experience on the expressway. You'll enjoy that seamless travel into the city. But all other roads, looking at Langata Road around Timol roundabout, a little bit busy, but moving. If we look at what is happening on Waiyaki Way to town, not so busy. Moving a little bit of traffic around the roundabouts, but all in all, roads don't look at all bad this Friday of the 10th of June this morning. That is what is happening on the roads this morning. Yes, I want to introduce my guest in studio. Of course, there is one who is coming back. Wale ambao wamefika, the early bats who are already here for the warm. It's on my close right here is Mr. Engineer John Ochoti, the senator candidate now for Nairobi under the Jogo Party, yani KANU. Yuko hapa Simba Kanairo. How are you, Simba Kanairo?
Kwa salama sana.
Why the name?
We live in a city where things are not easy. Things are tough for everybody. It's like a jungle. And so now in a jungle, we need to have somebody who is leading the pack. That is what I'm angling to do.
So are you leading your fellow lions, or?
Of course, you have cubs, you have lions, You cannot be a lion leading rats. Yeah? So Nairobians ni Masimba. We are in a jungle, as I said.
Yeah.
Yes.
Land mawe.
Like if you are surviving in this city, hakuna mahali huwezi kusurvive.
That is Simba Kanairo, of course. He is the candidate for KANU party for the senatorial seat in Nairobi County. Of course, on my far right, there is, or my middle right, because there is one that is coming on the far right, is the one and only lady in the house, Sunny Jerry, the women hopeful from Nyeri County. How are you?
I'm fine.
Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
How is Nyeri?
Good. Yeah, we are struggling where we can.
You have to. You have to push and find your space. Of course, we're going to talk much more about what you think you're going to bring to your electorate if or when they elect you as their representatives. But first things first, let's look at what we have in our papers this morning. I have the Standard with me, and of course the Daily Nation. The biggest story that is hitting the headlines of the cover page of the Standard is IBC test, the tough questions. There are a little bit of questions they've asked there. 6 questions about the result transmission of the August 9th general elections. One question they're asking is, what's the role of constituency tallying centers if presidential results from polling centers are transmitted directly to the National Tallying Center? Question 2, which are these 1,111 polling stations that do not have 3G coverage? Question 3, can IBC vouch for the security features of the ballot papers? And Form 34s, can IBC vouch for the integrity of the system? And 5, once the forms are received, will the tallying be manual or electronic? These are the questions they are asking. Question 6, what backup system does the commission have for power failure? You know, this coming up after the simulation of transmission of results that happened yesterday at the Bomas of Kenya, which is the National Tallying Center of the IEBC. They tried to simulate around 2,900 polling stations and to see how the results will be streamed in. But there are questions, of course, that arose. We are going to look into that, but I want to look at what is also hitting the cover page of the Daily Nation today. Block these people, EACC tells Chebukati. Of course, you know there's that tussle between the EACC and the IBC on the around 200 or so, 241 aspirants that are thought to be, associated with several graft issues. And so the EACC is saying the fate of some 241 aspirants, the anti-graft agency wants barred from contesting in the August 9th polls over integrity questions hangs in the balance, even as the Electoral Commission yesterday came under increased pressure to strike off the names from the ballot. We're going to talk much about this, but that is what is making the headlines today in the nation. And of course, if you open if you flip through the pages, you'll see also talking about the double-edged sword of opinion polls. As coalitions differ on rating, and of course a little bit more of the IBC issues in page 7. And if you flip back to the last page, of course we know that the House was adjourned indefinitely yesterday, bringing the end to the term of the 12th Parliament. Some of the issues that you're going to look into. If we can look a little bit on the People Daily, the first page says IBC in storm over voter list. Of course, this is the big story today, especially during the simulation that happened yesterday. And this, we are going to look deeply into detail at what is happening. Of course, they have also mentioned about different State House contenders. One of them being Wajakoya, who is, creating a wave that is unique, if we may say so. But that is what is happening in the papers today. If you want to get more of this, just grab your copy. If you are a lover of Daily Nation, have your copy. Standard, have your copy. People Daily, of course, given freely on the roads. Get one and you'll enjoy the stories therein. There is a story that I need to capture on the Standard on the sport page, talking about the currently the enigma, if I may call him, Ferdinand Omanyala, ruling the world right now. He's the fastest man in Africa officially yesterday after defeating Simbine. But that's in the papers. Can we get into the issue today? But again, that is what is in the papers. Yes, I want to take this opportunity to welcome the third, in our, I don't know if I call, is it a triplet or what? I don't know how it's called. They're going to tell us. Yeah, he's in studio, our very own Mr. Samson Kimunge Kamau. I got it right this time round. Oh, yes. From Kitengela. He was an aspirant the last time he was here, but now he's a candidate for the MCA Kitengela ward on Usawa. No, it's not Usawa Party. It's TSP, the Service Party. Yes, karibu sana.
Asante.
How is Kitengela?
Kitengela is great. Paul had a rough morning, but I must say that you really, really look great this morning.
Thank you. You also do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Glad to be here. And good morning, Kenyans.
Karibu sana. You were here an aspirant, but now you're here a candidate. Can you tell me your experience with IBC?
I think my experience with IBC was not that, if I may call it, the Wanjigi experience. Mine was a little bit quiet. I think having prepared enough as an aspirant, I kind of knew what really IBC wanted, and I must say that we had a lot of support from the constituency office, and we were duly cleared with within 10 minutes I was done. So my experience was great. If that is anything to go by, I think those are good signs of a good road ahead.
We wish you all the best.
Thank you.
What about you, Sunny? How was your experience with the IBC matters of clearance?
Mine was well. I'm happy because the service was really warm and they played the part and they were there to confirm that we are here for you, we are here to help you through this journey. So I was cleared and it was a celebratory mood for me. Yeah.
You enjoyed the experience, definitely.
Very.
What about you, Simba wa Kanairo, Engineer Joe?
My experience was very good at Kasarani with the chief, the county returning officer. Just like my colleagues, yeah, it was smooth. Yeah, so nothing to complain about.
Why are these presidential aspirants, so to speak, protesting? Talk about Mwangi Kiunjuri of Safina Party, talk about Kurao Court, talk about, Mchungaji Ruben Kegame. But before you give me your word, I want us to listen a little bit on this bite about these three protesting.
Coordinates for the polling stations which are without 3G, 4G network coverage. Do you have the coordinates for that?
So if this is occurring in a simulation of 2,900 polling stations, how much worse when we are dealing with 47,000?
Assuming that they are also concurrently transmitting the forms at the same time, you expect that for eyes purposes, you will say that they are all coming together, but the transmission system is able to identify which one has actually.
We are speaking to the 48% that is undecided in this nation about what is being presented as the decision of 2022, August 9th. And we want to assure those Kenyans and many others, we believe we are the majority,
that your voices are going to be heard, and you shall be on the ballot. Our 2010 Constitution requires that every citizen who is qualified to run for office runs, and nobody should put impediments and obstacles in their path.
Personally, I'm going to make a case against each and every of those commissioners, because people cannot make decisions that are injurious to a country, to people, and then hide behind an institution called IEBC. And this journey is just beginning.
We are going to fight this to the end. I promise you a legal battle never seen in this side of the tropics. We will fight all the way.
Those are the three. Of course, there is a fourth, represented by Sunny here, the Usawa party, who said that Usawa Kawote party, who said that now his party is no longer a party, but it's going to be, transformed into a movement. Is it a movement yet?
Yes, not yet, but soon.
Now let's talk about the process of especially the presidential, because talking, if I'm going to use you as a case study, it means that the lower seats were sort of seamless. What about now the presidential, aspirant clearance? Why was there a commotion and sort of a bit of misunderstanding or lack of it between the IBC and these aspirants, Simba wa Kanairo?
Yes. The rules, when they say when you are joining a game or you're not playing in a game, you have to understand the rules. In fact, everything was written in black and white. You develop a checklist. Personally, that's what I did. You are required to have your ID or passport. Do you have it? Yes or no? You are supposed to be cleared by EACC. Have you been cleared? Yes or no? You need to have been cleared by KRA, tax compliance certificate, for example. These are the things you do a checklist. Do you have a degree or you don't? You cannot go there and try to manufacture a degree while you're presenting your papers. It's not possible. Signatures, the number of signatures which are required. If there are 2,000 per county, you got to have that. Yeah, so really, you cannot fault the commission. it is the unpreparedness of the candidates.
What's your take on this, Bisani, looking at the fact that the IBC had actually cleared one Walter Mungare, and then when Wanjigi came in and complained, they recalled and actually, revoked the clearance?
Well, about that, there isn't much you can comment, because with the IBC, they had given clear mandates and there were specific deadlines, and I feel there are candidates who failed to meet the required times. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
You're also in a dilemma.
Yeah, I'm also in a dilemma.
As
yeah.
most Kenyans.
I'm also in a dilemma.
Yeah.
Because
like IBC, I mean, they clear candidates. If they are given a certificate, you've been cleared to run. Then another candidate comes with a similar scenario. They are bad. Then IBC recalls the other candidate. We have had questions to ask Chebukati. How come Walter Mungare was cleared in the first place? How come? That's a question that Chebukati needs to answer very clearly, because we don't want jokes. IBC every 5 years presides over elections, and these elections, as you can see, they hit at the economy. Sometimes they turn violent. People fight. So we should take these issues very, very seriously. Yes.
What's your take, Bana Samson, on this?
It's quite an interesting scenario, but I think we need to look at it from the election 2017, and the repeat election thereabout, and also interrogate the entire process. Remember, what we're looking at is to have a free, fair, credible, and verifiable election. One that assures the candidates that the process in itself, because the freeness of the fairness of an election starts right from the onset. How prepared is the IBC as mandated by law to carry out this election? What were the processes? And remember, the High Court, the Supreme Court ruling to nullify the 2017 election was not out of rigging. What was queried was the process. Right? Yeah. So you will realize, and I'm sure my colleagues will agree with me, that this election, the process, the IBC is really taking a lot of interest in the process. And I remember in my case, as I presented my forms at the constituency level down at Isinya, and we were told that we actually need to write indelible, capital letters. You need not even cancel anything, or scribble something. So the IBC is really, really quite serious with the process. And therefore, when you look at the candidates whose clearance was nullified or stopped at that matter, then we seek to ask ourselves, what led to that cancellation? Yeah, we can fault IBC in one part for having cleared, say, Walter, and then, coming back and say, no, we ought not to have done this. Remember, this is the first election we're doing post now the 2017, after the nullification of a presidential election, and that is a big thing. So I want to believe that the process is what we really need to interrogate at this point in time. We do not want to go back to where we were in 2017, and therefore to make this credible and fair, we need to have an authentic process right from the onset. Yes.
I think that is a good juncture for us to connect into the IBC result transmission dilemma. Yesterday, the IBC did a simulation of result transmission from around 290 polling stations, and they had issues. And it's like we are going to wait for days before we get to know the winner of the presidential elections come August 9th. But before we look into that, can we have the bites from the IBC exercise yesterday?
Does the Commission have coordinates for the polling stations which are without 3G, 4G network coverage? Do you have the coordinates for that?
So if this is occurring in a simulation of 2,900 polling stations, how much worse when we are dealing with 47,000?
Assuming that they're also concurrently transmitting the forms at the same time, you expect that for eyes purposes, you will say that they are all coming together, but the transmission system is able to identify which one has actually been sent first. and which one has not been sent first?
And as a commission, we do not have our own connectivity. We rely on the national connectivity and the service providers we use, and therefore we will be at the sympathy of the available connectivity for us to process the results.
Now, this happened yesterday. 2,900 polling stations in simulation, and we realized that around 1,111 polling stations don't have 3G network connectivity. This is an issue that was in 2017. 5 years later, experiencing it again. Is it that IBC takes too long to learn, or what happens to the IBC? Because they knew they had this, an issue. They had the election, the presidential election, nullified or annulled because of issues with the process. But again, we are talking about the process itself this time around.
As the commissioner stated there clearly, it is not entirely on IBC to ensure there is network coverage. But again, IBC have a responsibility of presenting a budget. Being a telecommunications engineer myself, I understand there is nowhere in the world you cannot be able to transmit. Maybe what differs is the cost of transmission. We have various technologies. We have satellite technologies. We have VSAT, which can be used to stream these results. So the question is it a budget that we don't have? Because we cannot rely on a single technology. We cannot say it's 3G. When there's no 3G, therefore we cannot transmit results. And you know, the elections, or the law governing elections is very clear on the process of conducting an election. So you rightly put it, 2017 presidential election was annulled because of irregularities regarding to the process. Chief Justice Maraga and his team at the Supreme Court, they were reading in black and white. What does the law say? And you see there was an attempt sometime this year to amend the law to accommodate a situation where if technology fails, does the law allow us to revert to manual process? That law did not see the light of day, so it means we have to play by the rules of the last election. Meaning, if we do not fix the technology of transmission of results, we are staring at a situation where a lot of petitions will be placed in courts, and even an election can be annulled just by these issues which I call them small. They are not major because they are solutions for transmission of results.
What is your take, Mheshimiwa Samson, on this? Because it seems you're going to go the same way like 2017. Yeah,
it looks more like it, but we must understand the process of an election is first of all manual before it gets electronic. You have to present yourself at the polling station and vote manually. You need to fill in these forms manually. The agents need to sign into the form. I think it's 34A for that matter, for it to be transmitted. So the aspect of transmission here is to cut on the time. And especially on the presidential election, the time it takes to, relay the results. But I think it's an undoing on the part of IBC. We cannot have to afford to have excuses on why this is not happening. I mean, this Chebukati and his team, however lean the team has been, has always known that we'll be having an election in the year 2022. They did not just wake up and realize, oh, we have another election, so we do not have 3G. But we must agree that as a country, in terms of the telecommunication network, someone voting in the deep part of Garissa or Wajir or thereabout, there is some bit of issues in terms of 3G network and things like that. So I believe as a country we need to come, as players within the IBC and election sector, needs to come down and draft an agreement. These are the rules of the game. So what is the end result? So as long as the end result is verifiable, it is something that we can look through the chain and authenticate the process, then I think that would be right. But having over 200 of them not able to transmit, looking at the magnitude and the percentage of that, I think we're scaring at another monster come 2022. But of course, we need to be optimistic and hope that with time, we are not going to get into the unpopular server story again.
Where they want the server to be open.
To be opened,
and
yes.
it hasn't been open yet.
Oh, not yet.
Probably still in France, it's being hosted in France yet. We don't know about that. What's your take on this? What's the integrity of the coming election then, if these issues are already up and probing?
Now, it's very unfortunate because failing to plan is planning to fail. And IBC knew 5 years from 2017 there'd be another election. So what would the measures or steps taken in order to improve and avoid the same issues that were there in 2017? So I feel that they failed on their part. I'm not blaming them, but I feel they failed because they had to have an idea of how to conduct this year's elections. So like my brother has said here, I'd like to concur with him that we'd like to remain more optimistic and hope for the best, because with the remaining few, is it 59 days?
59 days.
It's a very short time. It's a very short time. So we are hoping they can do something before the 59 days.
It's a question of wait and see, if we may call it so. But again, if we do that, then it means we also have to be ready for suits in the Supreme Court. People are saying that definitely it will end there, the Supreme Court.
I think even from the clip you've heard, the not so cleared presidential candidates promised that there's going to be a battle that has never been witnessed before. And such pointers are not good, especially in a political season like this. We need to be selling hope and trust to our people. We know what it means when we have a contested election. We know what it means when it trickles down to the common mwananchi down there. So in as much as we really want to sell a lot of hope and trust and believe in the process, I think IBC in its part need to come up firmly, and seem to be that impartial referee that knows what they're doing, for us also as candidates to actually trust the process.
But we also have to give them the benefit of the doubt, because they've said that they are going to, look for satellite mobiles to try and transmit
they have everything at their disposal
from these 1,111 polling stations that do not have the 3G network connectivity. But are we going to blame also the stakeholders, other stakeholders, because politicians are also stakeholders in this, and parliamentarians as stakeholders? The day before yesterday, they shot down again the request by IBC to be allowed to do manual transmission from these regions that do not have the 3G connectivity. Are we going also to blame the other stakeholders in this, Mr. Engineer?
Yes. We are living in a society where we have collective responsibility of looking at our future as a nation. We cannot be slaves of technology. Remember, I said IBC is capable of deploying other technologies to be able to transmit results. I'm sure there is coverage via satellite technology to be able to transmit. If it is very expensive to deploy, then parliamentarians also ought to climb down. We cannot be slaves of our technology at the expense of having contested elections, at the expense of increasing the temperatures, the political temperatures in the country. We have to be honest in how we approach our issues as a nation. Yes.
Remember, you can also have your say in this conversation by sending your feedback, your thoughts through our socials, Kirk TV Kenya on Facebook, Kirk TV _KE _ Kenya on Twitter, and of course on our SMS number. I want to sample a few that have already been shot through by you on our Facebook page. This is Boris Jez, Seltin Waita, saying, Vincent, today you're looking like a PCMF member. It's okay. Mwanamke wa Wanyiri Francis say hi to Sunny Njeri. This mwanake wa Wanyiri Francis says hi. There is Job Gatheru, my MCA Kitengela Ward, Samson Kimunge. And of course Samuel Njoguna says, go Samson Kimunge, come out. Keep them coming, and we are going to sample them even as we continue with our conversation this morning. I want us to shift into the end of the 12th parliament, the tenure is over, so to speak. There is this term they use in parliament, sine die. You know, sine die? Oh dear, yeah. Meaning that it's been, adjourned indefinitely. Because we know the 2010 constitution does not allow for, that dissolving of parliament anymore. You just suspend it because they can be called back anytime. I want us to look at the tenure of the 12th parliament. And compare it with the 11th parliament. I mean, what stands out for you, if I might ask you, Engineer Choti, what stands out for you in the 12th parliament?
The tragedy of our parliament is from the 10th parliament, let's say from the 9th, 10th parliament, we had legislators who are serious with the work. The subsequent ones, we realize we're having more and more jokers, the 12th parliament, we can say if I was to give them a score on a scale of 100, they score about 40%. That is that is a D, that is bad. They could have done better. And as a nation, that is why we are saying, look at the people you elect. The MP, the MCA, the senators, and even governors. We are so fixated on looking at which kind of president we have, then we forget these lower cadre elective positions. We ought to elect people who are serious. Parliament is not a house of comedians. Parliament is not a house of people, just going there to draw a salary. It should be a house representing the people, and that's what we are saying. And even from the headline of your topic for this show on manifestos, what do people want? And that's what we should be focusing on. And as the electorate, we should be looking out for the leaders who can represent us well. Not people who can make us laugh. We can have our jokes, in the evening, in theaters, there is Churchill who makes us laugh all the time. We don't need jokes in parliament.
So for you, it's a D.
It's a D.
What about you, Women Rock? What's your take on the 12th parliament?
The character and competency of leaders has deteriorated from around the same period my brother John here said. And it's really unfortunate because I, as a youth, I'm a young person, I've been growing up looking forward to having a better Kenyan, having more freedom in our country. And it's unfortunate. I feel like we are still under control. Everybody is not a free bird. So I feel Kenyans are sick and tired, and we want a change. We want leaders who can represent us in the right manner, leaders who are competent, leaders who are composed, leaders who are poised. And we haven't experienced that in like the last 15 years. It's very unfortunate.
So what's your rating? Engineer gave them a B. What about you?
I'll honestly even give them an E. It's that bad.
Isn't that unfair? Isn't that unfair? At least they've legislated. They've passed a couple of budgets here and there. Legislated a few, bills into laws. Don't you think an E is really not fair?
No, it's actually fair because the leaders have become self-absorbed and forgetting what the people want. And it's unfortunate because leadership is about managing to intermingle with your people because they are putting you there, putting all their hope on you so that you can better their lives. And if anything, the betterment of our life has gone down, from the high rates of food, the high rates of fuel consumption. I feel our country is doing poorly.
Okay. MCA, Samson,
yes.
I just want to put this into perspective. People are saying that the handshake and of course the purges that happened in Parliament, you know, people being removed from their positions in Parliament because of their handshake, so they speak, really, you know, took away the opposition side of Parliament that was supposed to ensure the checks and balances in Parliament. Do you think it's an issue that really affects the 12th Parliament?
Yes, I think that's an issue that affected the 12th Parliament.
Yeah.
But again, a legislator, and especially when we have members of Parliament having been elected by the people, for three fundamental reasons: to represent, to legislate, and to oversight. And therefore, when we look at the performance, we're not going to look at how well the handshake happened or how bad it happened.
Precisely.
We're going to judge you based on the three fundamental, you know, why you got into Parliament.
Yeah.
And looking at the country where we are today, and try to look at, and for a moment, Simba Kanairo there made us laugh, and I thought probably he's coming also as another comedian. Because on a lighter note. But looking at it, we can see the 12th Parliament performance in terms of legislation. That is what we really need to interrogate deeply on. We have been in a process where our debt has hit, you know, across the roof.
And of course it was increased, now they're sailing into 10 trillion.
Exactly, by the same parliamentarians.
Yeah.
So when we're judging their performance, that is what we'll be looking at. I was shocked just the other day when I realized that a litre of cooking oil is way almost hitting 500 shillings. You know, that is obnoxious, you know. And so when we look at the performance of the country as is, and remember, this country is run through Parliament. Most of the bills are passed through Parliament. That is where they shoot bills or they pass bills. And that is where when we're talking about IEBC, having made a proposal, it's being shot by the same Parliament who are also looking forward to have a fair play in the election. That to me is an undoing in the part of our parliamentarians. And I would therefore not really blame the handshake per se. Remember, the handshake came in to try and make things easy up for the country. Yeah. Fine, it has its good advantages and it has what it did. But you as a legislator, as a person representing a particular constituency of people, your performance will not be judged on the handshake. What is your performance in terms of the responsibility and the oath of office you took to you people? To me, that is what we really need to look at and interrogate deeply.
Were there wars, you know, supremacist battles, we may call them in Parliament, you know, this side has more, this side, you know, trying to battle it out?
Oh yes, there were quite a number, and we remember the time when the Speaker, you know, we had Kihika Kimani being ousted out. We have the famous Kangata wa Barua na mabarua zake, you know. So there were quite a number of wars and supremacy bases, every side trying to pull on its edge. That, of course, affected the way Parliament performed. But I will judge every member of Parliament individually. And that is what is awaiting them on the 9th of August. When they go back to the constituents and say, hey, look, this is my scorecard. So how did you perform as per expectations? That is what Kenyans want.
What's your rating?
My rating, I would be quite generous, and I'll give them a 6.
A 6?
Yeah, that's above average. Over 50%, yes.
Above average.
Oh, yes.
I wanted to say something.
To comment on the same issue of the handshake, I support Mheshimiwa fully. The handshake has been used as an excuse for people not to deliver. Remember when Charles Keter, when he resigned, he was asked what was the effect of the handshake. It was very clear. Handshake never even affected cabinet. As a cabinet secretary, your job is defined. Yeah, you cannot blame. The handshake was between two rivals in that election, the president and the closest challenger, Honorable Raila Odinga. And as Mheshimiwa rightly puts it, it was to, you know, to cool the temperatures, the political temperatures in the country. Legislators have a very clear mandate, and we have a very clear separation of powers. We have the judiciary, we have the legislature, and we have the executive. The legislature's role is to oversight the executive, primarily. And also make laws, which go to the judiciary to govern our country. So it doesn't matter which party you are elected on when you are an MP, when you're a senator. Your primary role is to oversight. Uwezi kusema sasa now I'm coming from Usawa party and therefore when a waziri who is friendly to Usawa, I cannot oversight them. You have to oversight everybody without discrimination.
Before we change route, what you wanted to say something on the same?
Oh yes. You know, the handshake was a political gesture.
Yes.
That really played in the political arena, and the only area that politics is allowed to play about is in the legislature. You know, Parliament is a parliament full of politicians, and I believe my colleagues here, who are rightfully politicians, are not going to play politics with the handshake if it may come, you know, post 2022. But in as much as the handshake affected the both sides of the divide, I think as a country, we really need to move and put our priorities right. Let us know what needs to be done and do what needs to be done when it needs to be done. Let us move from being a country of trying to find excuses every now and then in why this did not happen or why this needs to happen. For me, I believe we need focus. Once the country is focused and promoting in the right direction, then we are good to go.
I want us to change route, but we can also say Sinedia, and let's listen to the clip of closing now, or indefinitely adjourning the 12th Parliament.
Never feel that you have not accomplished anything, because there is so much that is expected of you. Allow me to declare that the time being 10 minutes after 7 o'clock today, the 9th of June 2022, the sittings of the National Assembly of the 12th Parliament now stand adjourned sine die. I thank you, members.
Okay, that is it. Sine die. You know, I had to study, I had to, do a little bit of research to understand the meaning of sine die. I actually had it yesterday for the first time.
You know, it's a learning process. Well, yes, sine die. But I think what the good speaker said, could that be an admission of fault? You know, an admission that yes, we strongly feel that we did not perform.
Do enough.
You know, we did not do enough. So even from where they sit, they believe. And I think they rightfully believe that there's so much that they were to accomplish, but they did not accomplish. So my colleagues here giving them an E, I think they would deserve that. You know, coming from the speaker, I think they would deserve it.
So you revoke your seats and do the
Sine die. Oh yes. Oh yeah.
But it's true, because they have around 150 something bills pending. And the term is over. Who is going to go through these bills again? Is it going to be carried over to the 13th Parliament or something? I feel I also want to rate them, but I'm not allowed to. But all said and done, compare the 12th Parliament and their predecessors, the 11th Parliament. How do they compare?
They came out worse off, And we are really praying that this time we do not have jokers. We can have a change. Remember the days of Kireito Murungi when he was an MP, the days of Orengo, the days of Martha Karua, the days of William Ruto when he was MP for Eldoret North. Those are totally different times. I don't want to name names of the 12th Parliament, but we all know who the jokers are. I mean, they're almost 90%. People do not take anything seriously. People you hear wamepelekwa behind the tent, they're being given a few thousands to influence legislation. It's very, very sad.
What can you learn from the 12th Parliament now that you want to be part of the 13th Parliament? Bisani, what can you learn, and do you think that this should not happen going forward?
I think the biggest lesson is that empowering of our Kenyan citizens is something that hasn't happened. And I, as a candidate, if I wasn't vying for the women rep seat in Nyeri County, I wouldn't be voting. And you find it's the notion among other young people because we haven't found leaders we want to be comfortable with, people who we want to give these seats so that we can trust them. Right now, it's a matter of we give these people seats, election issue, people go back to their normal lives. So I feel that the 12th Parliament still has a lot that has been left pending, and it's leaving more baggage on the 13th Parliament to come. And you see, what they're supposed to do is to make work easier for the next people to join. So I feel if the 13th Parliament focuses on getting to communicate with the citizens, getting to know what their needs are, hearing our voices, and getting the right representatives, we will be able to make a step forward. It doesn't matter how small, but so long as it's a step. Yeah.
Even as we conclude, Bana Sam.
Yes.
If you are asked, and to give your opinion, would you again rather have a handshake in terms of the way the Parliament has, did whatever they were supposed to do? Would you rather have a handshake or just opposition and those in government to be rightly, defined?
Like I said earlier, I think the handshake cannot be used as a tool to judge how the 12th Parliament
But it clearly affected.
It did, but
because
then
it made people to become friends with those that we thought they would not be, and that also makes people to become complacent.
Agreed. But again, if we look at this issue a little bit more deeply, you will realize that even post-COVID, this country has been in an endless political season, right from the executive. That has greatly affected how parliamentarians work. And therefore, what really affected their work, their performance, is not the handshake per se, but the legislators kind of sort of took sides. And therefore, we had an opposition within parliament. So the handshake took away the opposition that were there. But then there was a birth of a new opposition in parliament. And that is where you realize there was a rift raft, kind of a push and pull within the 12th parliament. And right from the very executive, the deputy president has been traversing this country, for the longest time. And with him, he has been carrying quite a number of legislators, and therefore having the country in an election mood for the longest period is what, in my opinion, would actually say that has affected performance of the 12th Parliament.
Spot on. Yeah. Now, we want to see Nedie from that, the end of the tenure of the 12th Parliament, and move forward and talk about the Manifesto Fiesta, because it's a season of manifestos now.
Oh, yes.
We know that one of the top candidates of the presidential election, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga of the Azimio Coalition, has already launched his. And we understand the Deputy President of Kenya Kwanza, who is the presidential candidate of Kenya Kwanza, that is Daktari William Ruto, will launch his on 30th of this month.
Oh, yes.
It's a season. Of course, we know Jakoya has mentioned about his, although he hasn't launched it officially, but we know what is in there, his agenda.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
in the manifesto already.
Yes.
Is it a season now, or is it way too late?
It is the season. The manifesto is apparently a guiding document. It is a promise to the people. It is a covenant to the people. This is what we intend to do. And looking at Baba's manifesto that was just launched the other day, it was an 87-page document, 84-page document, and sources tell us that it is actually more, it is way over 84 pages. That is now the compressed bit. And this gives Kenyans an opportunity to delve and dig deep into what lies in for them, kind of try for Kenyans to shape their future based on the manifesto that is being launched. And from where we come from, we are also launching our very own mini manifestos in what we promise to do to the people. And I believe this is the season.
I hope you'll be able to launch. You are there today, or you have an event?
Or to launch them? Oh yes, we are launching ours, and you invited.
Yeah, you have to invite me.
Oh yes,
Now I want us to listen to a few of the bites that transpired during the launch of the Azimio Manifesto. Then of course we'll have talk deeply on that. Let's listen Raila talking about manufacturing, the local production.
We will introduce cotton growing in large numbers in our country. So many other parts of our country, which cotton is the only available cash crop. Our textile industry was killed through liberalization. But then they brought mitumba. It killed all our textile industries. Our people are only wearing clothes coming from outside the country. They've been worn by people who are dead. We are going to go to primary production so that our people who are importing mitumba can have good product to sell here. I'm saying that we're not moving anybody out of business. We'll ensure that those who are importing mitumba get the first hand to market goods which are going to be manufactured here in this country.
I played that bite intentionally because I know it has really created a wave out here. But I want us to give it reason. That is why we are here.
Let me address that one. The debate, the problem with this country, we always hanging on to something which will generate debate. Just for the sake, Mutumba industry, as proposed by our captain in Azimio, the Honorable Raila Odinga, we are not going to face it out overnight. But it's a conversation we need to have, starting even yesterday. We are late in having this conversation. We cannot, as a country, accept. There's a pride in our people. We cannot always say in the next 50 years we'll wait for people to wear their clothes. When they're done with them, then they dump them, on us. Mutumba, in almost every household, you could say there's Mutumba. So, and therefore, it's a big industry. It employs a lot of people. It generates a livelihood for a lot of people. But then we must look forward. Other countries have phased out this kind of dependency on second hand. Even in Rwanda, our neighbor here, they have done away with Mutumba. And in its place, what have they done? They have improved the textile industry. If you are very keen to listen to the Honorable Raila speak, he did not start by mentioning Mutumba. He said textile manufacturing and then textile industry. What does that one mean? In as much as people are crying a lot, it will render people jobless, it will kill a market, But what does it bring in its place? We have farming of, growing of cotton. Cotton, if you grow cotton and you sell, you have created an opportunity for farmers to earn a living. These farmers, they need input from agrovets, fertilizers and all that. That's another value chain, an economic activity added. In fact, you are replacing a single industry of Mutumba and replacing it with several mini industries. Farming, processing of the cotton, transporting the cotton to the factories, and even the finished clothes to the market. That's a transport industry that you are, growing. Of course, again, the people who are trading in the Mutumba, they can also sell these new clothes. So you are not rendering them jobless. You are only changing the commodity, the quality of the commodity that they are selling, which is locally made, which is supporting all the other industries. But now the question is, they say the cost of these new clothes which are locally manufactured is very high. So you talk about affordability. What makes it expensive? We look at the cost of energy, the cost of production. Any kind of middleman here, we can be, set aside to improve the efficiency. Those are the things we should be discussing as Kenyans, not throwing mud at, very progressive proposals.
But that's, of course, there is competition. Those who are competing with them must find
we cannot just compete just for the sake of competing. I mean, it's very.
But my brother, it is not competing for the sake of competition, and I'm happy that the Right Honourable has sent his lieutenant here today.
Yes, of course.
But
we are Baba soldiers.
Oh yes, which is a good thing. Yeah. I think Raila had a very valid point. I think he had a very good point, but the way he delivered his point is a problem. You know, when you say that we're having clothes that are worn by dead people, and I think you've had the conversation going out, you know, that my friend here amevaa nguo ya maiti, inakuwa that's where the diversion now comes in. Yeah. But I want to believe that Kenya as is today is apparently a consuming nation. You know, that is what has made our life, you know, the life of ordinary mwananchi, quite, you know, a mess. Being a consuming country, that we need as a country to move away from that. We need to go back to manufacturing. We remember there was a time that cotton industry was doing quite well in this country. You know, today it is a shame that even we have to import eggs. We have to import every single things that our farmers can cultivate here. We all have to import. And when you look at the textile industry, from where I come from in Kitengela, we have one of the biggest EPZ outlets there. And EPZ does not deal with Mutumba. But I can tell you one the most famous brands you hear in the world, talk of Fubu, talk of, you know, quite a number of famous brands are actually being tailored at EPZ. But as is the policy, are not meant for the local market. And therefore, we have the capacity to do that. You know, that in itself tells you that we have great capacity that can you know, take in a lot of our young people into a meaningful environment. If we look at it in that way, then I think that is a point that we really need to soberly interrogate and look at the pointers and factors that would make it work once more for this country.
You've all agreed that he was delivering a point, but maybe the choice of words. Was he misunderstood? But was he making a point from where you see it, Sani?
Yes, he was. It's the delivery that was the problem, and he was misunderstood by very many Kenyans. I come in from the textile industry. I understand that it is very poor, and there is a lot of work that needs to be put into the textile industry in the country, because you find most of these materials that our tailors are using are imported, and there are things that can be processed in the country. There are industries that can be given the machines to process the textiles. So I feel like he just gave a tip of the iceberg, but forgot to explain all that is under it. Like Brother John has said here, that he should have explained further about it. He should have told Kenyans, okay, so we are going to improve the textile industry in the country. How? We are going to uplift and better the cotton industry and other materials, and then we'll create industries. So one, there's creation of jobs. So the industries will process the materials, and then they'll be delivered to the textile fabricators. So from the fabricators, this is the standardized amount of how the finished product should be, you know, because there is the concern of processing materials in the country. If, you know, let me use for example, because I'm a young person, there is a popular bag by the name Dendry. They are locally made. It's the leather industry. So you find their goods are expensive. They are good, but they're expensive. And in as much as they don't have the capability of exporting them. So you see that the Raila should have explained from the textile, from the farmer, how does it then go to all the way to be exported,
to defend my captain in Azimio, and you said that the manifesto is a voluminous document. All these things are detailed there, and if you are keen, immediately after the launch of the manifesto, there were small videos which each were delving into if it's agriculture, there are some videos detailing, you know, specifics, and even speaking to this textile industry. It has been very well explained in the graphics by the Azimio team, and even the manifesto, those details are there. So I would challenge Kenyans to go and read. And on the issue of delivery, you know, we are all students of literature. At some point we pass through a class of literature and communication. That is called imagery. You know, it is hakumaanisha kwamba ni maiti.
Of course.
And there's what we normally say here in Kenya. Kwani hamjui jokes, unaona? Like baba cannot make a joke, you know, in the process of making sure that the message is home. It is imagery. It is not literal in meaning.
I think, my brother, in your earlier point, as you just say that we've had quite a lot of jokers in the 12th parliament. So as a country, we are not ready for more jokes.
No, really, it's not a joke, and it wasn't joking. It's humor, you know. Personally, I was there at the launch of the manifesto.
I agree. The manifesto is good, the delivery unit, but I think what we really need to look at is post the manifestos. You know, in as much as you're going to bring in a manifesto with full of pomp and color, Kenyans want to look beyond that. You know, what are you going to do what are the steps that you have outlined that will make this work for the country? You know, that is where the conversation is. You know, that is where the conversation is.
And I think the issue on empowering and enhancing the local production is an issue that seems to be agreed across board. Because I want us to listen to a bite by the Deputy President, William Ruto, immediately when he was cleared by IBC, went to Kamkunji, and this is what he said.
Mimi nataka niwatangazie wanajuakali wote ya kwamba serikali yenu ya mahasla, kwa sababu hawa watu wajuakali ni mahasla, serikali yenu tutaweka pesa ya kutosha kuwatengenezea mahali ya kufanya biashara yenu, na tuwaunganishe na TVET zetu ili muwe na skills na muwe na mahali ya kufanya hiyo biashara. Ndio mambo ya manufacturing, ile mambo yote tunaagiza, mambo ya viti tunaagisha, nguo tunaagiza, viatu tunaagiza, tutasimamisha ndio hiyo nguo na viatu na all wood products iwe manufactured katika taifa letu la Kenya, na vijana wa taifa letu la Kenya katika ile mpango ya kuzalisha mali tuweze kuondoa umaskini na tuajiri vijana wetu wote.
This is the Deputy President, the leader of Kenya Kwanza. Immediately was cleared last Sunday from the IBC offices in Bomas. He went to Kamkunji and said this. This, in other words, means the same thing that the former Premier said.
Exactly, yeah, and that's what we're saying. Honesty. You know, we have to be honest. We cannot just compete for the sake of competing. When our brother is proposing something, you know, I look at the Honorable Raila and William Ruto. Each of them has a fair opportunity of likelihood of ascending to the presidency, and they are Kenyans. We are one. I mean, we are one as a family. When a brother proposes something, we should not pull them down. Let us look at what is positive. Let us enforce what is positive, so that we can be able to grow as a people. At the end of the day, if William, in the unlikely event that William becomes president, he is going to try to implement the same philosophy that the Honorable Raila is pushing. So let us be honest in our politics. William Ruto is being known as a person who's he speaks from this side of the mouth and this other side as well. So he's double speak. We need to be honest. We need to be honest.
Yeah, I think coming from the Azimio team, you cannot, in all honesty, be fair to William. But I think we all agree that William is one politician who has a lot of energy. And I want you to, I think you agree with me, that his delivery of points and articulation of agendas on what he has for this country comes out quite clearly and eloquently.
That is okay,
we
but
almost
he speaks from both sides of his mouth. That's the problem I have.
So the side that he has spoken from is the side that he's addressing the local Juakali artisans. The side that says that we will make sure that we manufacture here.
He even said we are buying shoes. He said we buy how many shoes? 12 million pairs of shoes a year. And then he went ahead and said we slaughter how many cows in a year? We slaughtered 3 million cows in a year. And then he went ahead and said, these 3 million cows we slaughter in a year, they're sufficient to ensure that everybody has a shoe which is made in Kenya.
And that's a great thing.
That is very good. It's a great thing.
It's a great thing.
But then there is Mitumba there. In as much as he has not mentioned dead people.
No, he mentioned the importing of clothes.
Yeah, importing of clothes.
Yes.
Second hand. And even new clothes we import. By the way, in Isili is a big market for new clothes. But look at the quality of those clothes. Understand? We have to discuss these things objectively, and as a nation, we cannot bury our heads in the sand. And you cannot say that Honorable Raila's delivery and the way of delivery, we are not here for theatrics, we are here for the content.
It is the objectivity, that we're looking at.
Yes,
it is
exactly,
the content of your manifesto that we're looking at.
Exactly.
And for the people, for Kenyans to believe in your manifesto, the delivery of your manifesto,
of course,
politics is about, it does, politics is about perception. We want to believe that you believe in what you're telling us as Kenyans. That is what the local Mwananchi want to believe.
So are you looking at the manifesto or how the manifesto is being delivered? Those are details. Those are details. The manifesto is a document, solid document, in print, in black and white.
I think as a polished politician, what you read more in what is not said than what is said.
And that's where we go wrong.
Those details.
That's where we go wrong.
Those details are critical.
We are excellent politicians as a country. In politics, we score highly, but in terms of delivery, and that's what we want to look at. We cannot look at theater and performance, but we are not a performing arts nation. True. Yeah, of course, there's that industry for performing arts, which we should support, but then we cannot all be performing artists.
Which I believe you have as part of your manifesto in Nairobi.
Yes, of course.
I want us to move this conversation forward, because I know this is an issue that needs to be looked at it candidly and in a sober way, in a sober manner, and we look at what happens. But I want to, because the Azimio manifesto is a 10-point agenda, a 10-point as a manifesto. One of them being Azimio la ugatuzi, Azimio la jitihada, Azimio la akina mama, Azimio la ukulima, Azimio la viwanda, inawezekana, baba care, West not a single child, maji kwa kila boma, and 10 administrative continuity. We can spend a whole day looking at the manifesto, but I want us to listen to another bite from the former premier on education. Then, of course, we are going to talk a few things about it and other points that I've mentioned here.
Our children will have access to free quality education from primary to university. It is doable because we are going to restructure our economy. We will have priorities which are going to set for our people. I've also mentioned we are going to employ all the teachers who are trained and are actually trained idle at home, meaning so that we can be able to improve quality of education in our schools. So we want the Kenyan to walk this journey with us. What we are trying to offer is not something that is impractical.
Yes, this is one point that makes his part of his first 100 days in office, and I want to bring in the Sani, being hypothetically the youngest in the house. Let's talk about education. The way he says that he's going to ensure that there is quality education all the way from primary school to university. That means free education to university. In the first 100 days or even 5 years, how do you see the truth in this point of ensuring free education all through from primary to university? How possible is it?
It is quite possible.
Oh.
It is quite possible, and that I think during his launch, it was the one that really got to me, because education is the key to success, and education as well is giving people knowledge, because with knowledge we are able to get somewhere. So I think that free education from primary all the way to secondary to university will be an advantage to those who are not able to access that education. Because you find most times, because nimekuwa kwa ground, you find somebody has done very well in high school, but they lack the funds to go all the way to university to pursue their dream course. So if the government is going to do that, if they do that, it will be of great benefit to our country. Yeah.
What's your take, MCA Samson, on this?
I think that was a brilliant thing for Baba to come up with. I think he really understands what is ailing this country. And I want to believe, just like Sonny here says, that it is doable. Looking at history, the former president, His Excellency Mwai Kibaki, may God rest his soul, was able to achieve that, you know, in a very systematic and an excellent manner. And I believe if we look at it and interrogate that, and if we are able as a country to make do and cut across in the education sector, ensure that every young person in this country has access to free and quality education, which is lacking in most part, and especially where I come from. Education right from the primary level is a problem. So for us to have achieved that, we need to remember that we've had 100% transition from primary level to high school. Then ask ourselves, is that happening? Why is it not happening? Because we have areas that do not have schools in this country. We have areas where our young men and women cannot access quality university education. And I think that is an area that we really need to invest in, so that we can create more employers other than employees. That's brilliant.
And also to add to that, and it's just not a matter of giving free education, also create a good conducive environment for the learners and the teachers as well. Yeah.
Talking of teachers, it says that in his first 100 days, he's going to ensure that all the teachers that are trained and unemployed are going to be absorbed into employment. First 100 days, we have around 300,000 or so teachers that are unemployed. How possible is that in 100 days, engineer?
As a country, we have a serious hemorrhage in terms of resources from the national treasury. Our president, outgoing president, is on record saying that we lose 2 billion a day. How much do you think that's 2 billion a day? How many teachers can 2 billion a day employ? In a month, that's how much?
In a month, that's 60 billion.
60 billion. Yeah. In 100 days, that's almost 100 billion. Then your question is answered. Yeah. So if we manage our resources properly, and even as my party leader says, and you know, when he was launching a very progressive manifesto again as KANU, dubbed Back to Business, he actually said, on matters of corruption, we do not want to entertain people. He even said in Kiswahili, anybody found involved in corruption, unaweka kichwa hapa, mwili hapa. We should not laugh at these matters. So it is doable. Yeah.
It is doable. Apart from education, there are a lot of things that I mentioned. What really stood out for you, Mheshimiwa?
The cost of living. That is the thorn in flesh. Right now, left, right, and center, we have families that are going without food as we speak. We have families that do not know where the next meal will come from. And therefore, for me, when you talk of empowering and revamping the local industry, ensuring that the cost of production comes down, ensuring that there is food on the table, ensuring that our population is fed, and of course, trying to curb the hemorrhage that has been in government through corruption is some of the ways that we can ensure this happens. And therefore, for me, what really stood out is that his admission that as a country we are actually going down seriously on the wrong direction. And therefore, that is what the common Mwananchi is looking forward to. Not the pomp, not the color, not the many words, but bringing the cost of food down.
He said that in his first 100 days, he's going to ensure that, food is going to give priority to ensure food, fuel, energy, and also the farm inputs. Talk of, fertilizer prices going down to 2,000 shillings. Do you think that given the condition, given the environment we have, the economic, environment of the country right now, is it something that is going to, I'm looking at the strategy and the fact that he's talking about 100 days. These 100 days are not so many. They're only 3 months. Are we able to have all this done in 100 days in priority?
Being the president...
Because, most of these also require legislation.
Yeah. If he's elected president, running a country is not something smooth. So if he implements his work through his cabinet secretaries, I think it will be very much possible. Because a strategy can work even in 2 days, so long as it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if it's approached in the right way, and implementation is done, it is possible. Because, for example, if we see all of us Kenyans, even in our different fields, we all have a common thing that we want in our government right now. If a farmer per se, a farmer plants maybe tomatoes, and he's looking to making profit out of all that he has inputs. All the input he has put in his farming, he's hoping to make a profit. Then there is no need for him to go and sell his crate of tomatoes for less than he was hoping to make. So if the farming industry, that's just a whole example for everything. If the fertilizers are made cheap, access to the tomato seeds is made also cheap, and then the demand department is improved, then there'll be immense improvements. Yeah.
I want to give you an opportunity to talk about his proposals on tackling, the debt management as a whole. In his manifesto, I say that he's going to try and renegotiate and try to, do a totally different structure on payment and all that. We know that some of the concessional loans that we took, the grace period has already expired, and they are actually being paid as we speak right now. What was his strategy and his proposal on how to tackle debt management in this country?
Debt is a thorn in the flesh in our country. If you look at debt, it's not a bad thing. Anyone who has been in business, you would agree that debt is a good thing. When you have access to credit, you can borrow to enhance your business, then it means you are growing. The same thing applies to the country and managing a country. Having access as a country to resources to do our infrastructure, to fund our development programs, to fund our healthcare, it is a good thing. And there is talk of the ceiling. The other day Parliament raised it to 10 trillion.
Yes.
Yeah, and people are crying a lot about the raising of the ceiling so that more borrowing is made possible. First, we have to look at how are we spending the money we borrow. That is the first instance of managing the debt that is going to accrue from now going forward. In the past, we've had a situation where you heard of Arol, Kemwarer, investigations are ongoing. That is on borrowed money. You've had the standard gauge railway. It has been launched, it's running, it's up and running. But then the question is, at what cost? Did we have it at the optimal cost? So how we spend the borrowed money is key. Looking at the SGA case, for example, in the procurement process, do we need to review our laws? If the contractor that was awarded the job to do was the lowest bidder, and our law says you award the lowest bidder, then who can you blame? Maybe we need to relook at even the laws which govern that. And in terms of managing the debt that we have, restructuring is one of the tools which are used. I remember even during COVID, a lot of people who had borrowed money, a lot of business who had borrowed money from the banks. Banks were reaching out and restructuring the payment. You change the payment, maybe duration, maybe you adjust the interest rates, maybe you renegotiate. You say, now park this. For now, we'll start repaying after 6 months. We adjust our resources. So those are practical ways of managing our debt that the Honorable Raila Odinga was proposing. Yes.
Yes, I want us to, because I want to also give you an opportunity to, launch your mini manifestos. Yes, see what you're going to do for your people. But even as we conclude on this issue, the Azimio presidential candidate has launched his. We know that the Kenya Kwanza is in the pipeline. What do you expect, especially from now Kenya Kwanza, now that they have an opportunity, they've already seen what their biggest competitor has brought forward. What about them? What do you expect? If you can read from your political eyes.
Yes. Thank you. I think I'll start looking at the 100 days that you were looking at. Yeah. And I want to say that 100 days plan that came about from Azimio is quite, it's not achievable. Because the first 100 days, what you do in the first 100 days determines how you run the government for the next 5 years. Some of the agendas that he's put across to run through the 100 days, they are overambitious, if I may say. But hey, we will wait and see what happens when that time comes. But looking at Kenya Kwanza, and especially the deputy president, who is the rightful person who's leading the Kenya Kwanza team, looking at his manifesto, how he's been campaigning and how he's been articulating his agenda, you can almost read his manifesto from the many rallies that he's done. And also, we also need to agree that most of these issues that affect Kenyans, these two principles are looking to represent the same set of people. So when we look at bringing the cost of food down, it cuts across. We may not say that Azimio had this and Kenya Kwanza will not have it. They basically will have a manifesto that mirrors each other. What will be different is the implementation bit. And that is where we really need to speak about. How possible, how practical is your manifesto? How practical is the process of implementing your manifesto? That is what Kenyans really need to look at. Because when you say about restructuring our debt, that is something that is cutting across. It will be on both sides of the divide. When you look at the, the lower cradle of our economy, the Juakali artisans and the like, this is something just like this, what the deputy president said in Kamukunji. He touched on the Mitumba industry, which is what Baba touched on his manifesto. But the deputy president, Dr. William Ruto, touched it on the sidelines. That would tell you that it will be part of the manifesto, because this is something that is good for the country. And therefore, for me, what really stands out is the process through which all these good, beautiful manifestos will be launched.
Is he, going to act from a point of advantage now that he knows he has a clue, or not a clue, he knows that the manifesto of my competitor is this. Now, does he have an opportunity? Because again, we don't know how. I wish I had an expert here who can tell us how long it takes to craft and come up with a manifesto. But do you think he's going to, have this advantage over the competitor now that he has it?
I can tell you that the deputy president manifesto is already out. Right from the moment that you set foot to campaign. And I want my brother here to agree with me. Not unless he's telling me that his manifesto is waiting somehow to be launched and he doesn't have it. Because as I said earlier, a manifesto is a promise to the people. This is a covenant you made to the people. And therefore, when you're vying for presidency or any position for that matter, you have what you really want to do for the people. And that, rightfully put, the Kenya Kwanza manifesto is ready. It's not waiting for Azimio manifesto to come out and start scribbling stuff. It's only the timeline, just like you presented your papers or yourself for clearance at IEBC. Whoever went first or whoever went last, that process had to happen. So the manifestos are there. We're only waiting to hear what they have. But like I said, we've been hearing the Kenya Kwanza manifesto through the many rallies.
I would like to strongly disagree with my brother here. The Kenya Kwanza manifesto is not ready because we have not seen it. No, we have not seen it. Do you have a copy?
It's not
we also didn't see Azimios until it was launched.
Yes,
we didn't see it.
So he's not honest when he's saying that it's ready. Unless he has a copy somewhere in which then you can leave us with one.
But again, it could be private. It could be private.
Again, more specifically, you are aware that Kenya Kwanza people are going around the 47 counties collecting views.
Economic forum.
Yes, and that will form part of the. So they are extracting information now
from the people.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah. Let's be honest. And it's, we cannot come and say that the manifesto is ready, is waiting to be launched. And I don't have much to comment about Kenya Kwanza manifesto. All I can say is, like Junaid said,
don't copy
Azimio manifesto.
That is it. I know. Again, it's the first time that we are going to have the fewest number of presidential candidates.
Yes.
We know that there is no independent candidate on the ballot come August 9th. So we will wait and see what the fall will bring to us. And we will have an opportunity, you as the people, to decide on what makes sense of it all, including Waja Koya's, of course, where he says that he thinks that we need to rear more snakes. Yeah, we need to rear more snakes, and of course have that plant. That's
a brilliant man.
He's a brilliant man.
Really?
He's learned also.
Really?
So he articulates his points where people understand. So we have to also give him a thumbs up wherever we think is right. So I think it's a good competition that we're going to have come August 9th. We are going to have an opportunity to choose between Raila, between Ruto, between Waja Koya, Mwaure, and of course there's a person. What's the name?
We have 4 or 5.
There are only 4.
Have I mentioned 4? Yeah, there are only 4. So we have a choice. We have a choice as Kenyans, but we also have a choice locally on who we want to be our leaders, and that is why we have you in studio. Simba Kanairo.
Yes.
You're in Nairobi, Kanairo, as we call it. You are intending to, to succeed shoes that have been mentioned to be super in Senator Sakaja Johnson. What are you going to do differently that is not done for you now to try to not live in the shadow?
I don't know why you are glorifying the outgoing senator.
That is his name. It's called Super Senator.
Super
Senator. The name that he has. I didn't give him.
Super Senator is what any senator of Nairobi title. I mean, anybody who becomes senator in Nairobi would take.
But we also have a super senator.
Personally, I'm going to become a super senator. In this city after Sakaja, and those are not his shoes. It is the shoes of the city as Nairobi. The positioning of Nairobi, even in the region, not even just Kenya. A lot. It is a hub. It's a serious economic hub. And that is why we are saying we need to give a chance to people who look at it that way. Of all the places, let us please not have comedians or jokers in the city. So that is why we need to be very careful whom we are electing. On the question of what I would do different, of course I wouldn't dwell on what he hasn't done. It can only be fair that I tell the people of Nairobi what I will do, what I'll do for them. I have gone round, I have listened to the people, and as per the headline of your discussion today, what do people want? In fact, I would think you copied that from me, because that's what I always say. That's what when nikienda mitaani, like when I'm going to all the corners of Nairobi, I'm asking them, what do you want? And my approach is being very simple. Before I even speak, I am usually with a microphone. I give a microphone to the people. If I go to Kayaba, the people of Kayaba, here is a microphone. I am here, and I'm always having a notebook. What are the pressing issues? So I have moved across the city. I have listened, and I have a summary of what we call my manifesto. I cannot call it a mini manifesto because I'm given a very clear mandate within the boundaries of Nairobi. That would be my manifesto as the senator. There are things which I look at. The most pressing issue is economic empowerment. When you wake up in the morning, you should be able to afford that cup of tea, that cup of porridge, so that you set your stomach right, you know. Being able to afford basic commodities, you know, livelihood.
So how are you going to do this? Because you are just a legislator, you know?
Yeah. We live in a country...
You don't have a budget?
No. I do not have to have a budget to spend. But my role as a legislator allows me to allocate resources through legislation, to say we can give priority to this and that area. This area can wait through the laws. And also through oversight. Governors are launching their manifestos. They are the priority areas that they have given, and both of them, the leading governor candidates, I've listened to both of them, and they are putting the needs of the people of Nairobi ahead. So my role is to ensure that those promises that they make, they are adhered to. But to come back to my manifesto, I'm looking at the women of the city. I'm looking at the youth of the city.
In bullet form. So
So we empower those people who are vulnerable in our communities. We look at affordable and reliable healthcare. The president has done well in ensuring that we have these health facilities in our neighborhoods. We need to improve the number of doctors who are qualified. There's midwives who are doing a good job in our communities. We need to recognize them, you know, facilitate them to improve the maternal services and other services. We need to have medicine in our facilities. And all this is through legislation to allocate the resources in those areas. There's also another issue of mental health. We might think it's very cool to always be high. If you walk around the city, people are really lost. You know, a lot of people are suffering, and the primary cause of that is lack of employment, a lack of economic opportunity. So people are hiding in drug abuse. People are suffering depression. So mental health is something that we need to look at, rehabilitation, so that these people can also contribute to the society and also better their lives. We look at the expansion of education infrastructure. Classrooms are places where they are hazardous. A class which is supposed to hold about 40 students or pupils is holding 80 or 100. They are crowded. And we have seen a free education being promised. We need to allocate resources through legislation to ensure that we have proper classrooms for our learners. We also need to improve the water supply through automation. I have a solution which works in terms of automating. Right now we have rationing in the city. One morning you say we need to give water to Kamkunji, then in the afternoon the water will go to Langata, the other day it will go to Westlands. We have huge pipes which are carrying this water. These processes are being done manually. If we automate, then we have schedules, then it means each of these locations will have an equal access to.
And we're going to do water. All these through legislation.
Legislation and giving room for the implementation of this. We look at affordable housing. One of the big four agenda for the outgoing president. I think it was a noble idea. Nobody wants to live in the slums forever. Nobody wants to live in shanties. We have to fix this thing through legislation and allocation of resources.
Yes.
Arts, performing arts, sports. That you are sure
jokers
is in my manifesto. We have to have a lot of jokers to make us laugh. So they also earn a living through the process. Football academies and all that. So to specifically address on the transport sector, in the CBD, I am proposing that this is going to be a bit radical in terms of the taxis. They have also spoken to me. They want pick up and drop off points within the CBD, maybe 6-5 drop-off points, so that you ease in the transport burden. And even our borders, in a very organized way, they should have access into the CBD. That is the summary of my manifesto.
We wish you all the best. It seems to be a really pregnant one.
Of course.
We wish you all the best, even as you push to have the people of Nairobi elect you to be the next, their third, so to speak.
The
you know,
third,
their
yeah.
second.
The third,
yeah, because the first was the former governor, and of course now Sakaja, and the third
Super Senator. Yes.
Okay, super. You also took that up. What are you going to do for the people of Nyeri if they elected you as their women rep?
Now, I think first and foremost is that people need to understand what the role of a woman rep is. And a woman rep has been put in by the government to fit in the two-third gender rule. And
Only that?
No. That is where the post was erected.
Created.
Created. So her purpose is to represent the women, youth, persons with disabilities, as per the Constitution. And I feel as well that the male gender has been forgotten. Because as a woman, at very basics, a woman is a mother to both male and females, yeah?
Yes.
So I feel the boy child was left out on that, and I don't like it, but I will push forward for the male to be included in the Constitution as part of representation by the women rep. So my first focus is on our youths in Nyeri County, because they are lamenting of how the sports entertainment industry has been neglected, and they are facing a lot of challenges, especially in setting up in the music industry, setting up their musics. In sports, they are not well funded. So it will be my first approach, and creating youth hubs in each and every of the 6 constituencies will be a main focus for me. Youth hubs that will focus on ICT and digital skills training, and as well as support entertainment and the sports, and also include mentorship camps for our people.
How are you going to do this? Are you going to lobby, because you also don't have a budget?
Yes.
Are you going to lobby? Are you going to, how are you going to do that?
We are going to lobby, because a woman rep is also a member of parliament.
Yeah.
So we can take the legislation forward and see what... manage to fight for a budget allocation to enable that process, that exercise, yeah? I will also focus on promoting women economic empowerment, because the Youth Fund, Wezo Fund, and the GAF Fund has been placed by the government. But you find, because I have related with some of them, the decline of how they have formed those self-help groups, but when they go to their offices, they are limited. They are taken in rounds, because there are people sitting on those offices that are, let me call them cartels. And like I said, about self-absorbance in leadership. So it's something that we'll focus on. Also to provide free and subsidized sanitary towels and diapers.
Okay.
Because our late president, Mwai Kibaki, he'd give free mosquito nets to children between the ages of 1 and 5. And I feel our government is able enough, especially because with the high cases of young mothers, you find diapers are really expensive, because one is sold at about 20 shillings. And with the high with the high rising standards of living, you find it's not possible for somebody. Let's imagine somebody earning a basic salary of about 300 shillings per day. Is that unga? Is that just, skuma wiki? What about the children, yeah? So I have put them part of my manifesto, because our county has very many cases of young mothers, and especially young mothers who are not able enough to support the living standards of their child, yeah?
Okay.
Also, I will...
Last one, in a nutshell.
Sorry?
In a nutshell now.
Majorly, it will be... My manifesto is focusing on growth. And transparency with working with the people. Because I want them to be part of my government by ensuring a needs assessment with the community. maybe as for every 3 months, because needs keep changing among the people.
Yeah. Okay. I also wish you the best. And of course, when you be launching this manifesto, kindly you can invite us so that we be part of that history. Mheshimiwa Samson, you've been here before. You mentioned what you'll do for the people of Kitengela, especially that room that has been characterized with the people from that region. What else do you want to do now that you know you are no longer an aspirant, you are a candidate now, you are selling candy points to the people?
Candy points to the people. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And I would want to speak this directly to the people of Kitengela. And I would want, as a start, to start by mentioning that the last time we were here, we had a problem that affected over 30,000 voters who were illegally moved from a polling station within the town, that is St. Monica polling station, and illegally moved 51 kilometers away to a station called Eriteti. We were able to do a petition, and I'm happy that we got a response on the petition, which culminated to the presser by the IEBC chairman, Chebukati, who said that will be resolved. So we're optimistic, we've been following through, and I would want to address the people of Kitengela and tell them that what we have, the words we have now, is that our votes are back at Dr. Likimani, and what is the IEBC is waiting to do is to update on the verification register. So you will have your day on the ballot as rightfully as it should be. And therefore, what forms part of my manifesto? Of course, you mentioned about the Vumbi, and that touches on infrastructure. We're looking at a 5-point agenda. And remember, being the MCA, our manifesto is localized. It touches on the local Mwananchi because we interact with the people every other day. I am looking at that person who is living in New Valley, who has to contend with bad roads, someone who has to contend with sewer being spewed out on the road, out in the open, and nothing is being done about it. So what is Sam Kamau coming in to do? I am coming in to bring in legislation to make sure that we do not have landlords that are going to spew sewer on the road that becomes a health hazard to the people. I am coming in to improve the infrastructure, that we will have good roads, good motorable roads, that our estate roads will be motorable. That is what I'm coming in to do. And remember, Kitengela has now elevated itself to the status of a municipal, and which is a great thing. And therefore, my legislation bit, I will be coming in to push that we have tarmac roads, as is in Nairobi or any other town that is therein. Secondly, I'm looking at the traders, promoting a conducive business environment for the people of Kitengela. I am looking at that person who is working in Kitengela market, that person who has been out of the market for the last 4 years, containing with the scorching sun and rains, and at times not able to trade. I am looking at trying to resettle those people. Being in the county assembly, I will be in charge of the budget allocation within the county assembly, and I am strongly coming in to push in legislation and pushing for funds to make sure that our traders, that our hawkers have a decent streets to trade in a fair manner. I am looking into implementing the issue of street lighting that will curb insecurity in Kitengela, which is a very big issue. Kitengela as is has a population of over 200,000, and with over 200,000 population, we do not have a single secondary school. I know that Matters High School and education is on the first tier of government, where my two colleagues belong. But in the second tier, we are able to point out these issues and escalate them to the relevant offices. We do not have a school for our people. Like people of Changombe, we have the kids in Changombe have to continue in walking longer distances to access the free education that is mandatory for all. That is a thorn in the flesh within the people of Kitengela. Now, like I had mentioned earlier, Kitengela is host to over 16,000 people who work at EPZ. EPZ, through public-private partnership, used to provide the people of Kitengela with water. Today, Kitengela, we do not have clean, fresh drinking water. That is something that we strongly are willing to push and harmonize. And therefore, I am looking at equity and equality. I am looking at fairness in bursary distribution.
Okay.
And I will be doing this on the 25th.
Okay.
And this is to invite you in my manifesto lounge.
Okay.
It is not as many as you thought. We'll be at all the teams launching this manifesto. And we have a big team on the ground, and salute to everyone that is working round the clock to see that Kitengela becomes a model town that it should be, that our people's lives are dignified as they should be.
Thank you very much. So the 25th is the day.
The 25th is the day.
It's your big day.
Oh yes, and I want to salute a team of members who've been meeting somewhere in all the teams.
Second, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Who've been meeting at all the teams, trying to bring all communities together to harmonize peace and to engage in a peaceful electioneering period. People like Phyllis of Mini UK. We had the chairman for the market. We had the Kinachege. You know.
Okay, I know you can mention names.
Yes.
Yes. Wish all the best. Wish all the best. I want to sample a few comments even as we wrap this up, because it's almost 10 now and we have to call this a day. There is this Marcus Gavi says, our own daughter of Nyeri County, Ongera, Generally Minor, awesome, can see Honorable Sani representing Nyeri, Desanta Dendungu, my MCA Kitengela ward, Peter G. Kinoti Kitengela well represented, and there is also who again, I think I lost them. But there are a number of you who've given their feedback on our show this morning. We want to say thank you very much for being a part of this show. It's been a good morning, I would say, full loaded with brains here in studio. Of course, today hosting Simba Kanairo. We show the best. Engineer John Ochoti. That's your name, your ballot name.
Yes, John Ochoti.
John Onchoti. Your ballot name is
Saninjeri.
And of course yours, Mheshimiwa.
It's always been Samson Kimunge Kamau.
Samson Kimunge Kamau. We wish you the best.
TSP.
TSP.
The service party.
Okay. Okay, wish you the best. Of course, I know you have rift. I don't know if you are campaigning independently, as your party leader said that you're going to start doing independent campaigns.
Our party leader is right. He's one of the most brilliant brains that we have in this country.
let's not begin a new conversation here, new debate. But I want to wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And of course, believe that you're going to transform the lives of the people that you're going to represent. I want to take this opportunity to say thank you very much for being a part of this since 8 a.m. I want to call it a day here when as I exit. I know that Faith Mwikali, my colleague, is coming up with, a segment, entertainment segment. Today, she is hosting who is this? Emily Wairimo. She is a spoken word minister. You don't want to miss that. But from me and my panelists, the senator for Nairobi, aspiring or contending, and of course continuing to be the women rep of Nyeri, Sani, and of course our very own Samson Kimunge Kamau from Kitengela. We want to say bye-bye. Wish you a very good weekend. Enjoy your weekend. See you again when God says yes. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, guys.
Communion with a difference. It's easy to set up, no worry of spills, contamination or waste. Prepared with very high hygienic standards and strict quality dedicated equipment. You are rest assured that pre-filled Holy Communion elements are completely protected. We deal with pre-filled communion elements for churches in Kenya and East Africa like the Presbyterian Church of East Africa, CITAM, among many others. The advantages of the pre-filled elements are cost-effective, convenient, portable and ideal for use in virtually any environment, less preparation work, completely hygienic, and we have both altar wine and altar juice. Order now by calling us or sending us a WhatsApp message on 07999 88371. Visit our website www.holycommunionelements.com.
questions about tithing, such as, must I write my name on the tithe envelope? Is tithe 10% of gross or net? Must tithe be brought to church or be given to the needy? Should my pastor know about my tithing records? How frequently should I tithe? Is it right for man and wife to tithe in one envelope? Should our children give offering? And must I tithe from a loan? Find all these answers in the book, The Tithe Weapon in Spiritual Warfare by Elder Njenga. This book is available at the PCA Bookshop South Sea, Nairobi. Come get one and learn more about tithing.
Thika Motor Dealers, the #1 dealer for Isuzu brand motor vehicles in conjunction with Family Bank, now have a mouth-watering deal for PCEA churches and their sponsored schools. Thika Motor Dealers are now offering up to 100% financing for buses ranging from the 25-seater, 33-seater, 46-seater and 67-seater. For more information, visit TMD dealer shops in Thika, Ruaka, Karatina, Athi River and Machakos, or even call us on 0800-720-797.
Thika Motor Dealers, your trusted logistics partner.
Are you looking to grow your business? Kirk TV offers you a variety of advertising opportunities to suit your budget. Advertise with us today and reach your potential customers countrywide. For more information, email us on sales@kirktv.org or call 011 00 90647.
In every situation, there is a silver lining.
And we had for the first time, you are not going to meet in church. And we are going, how?
And whatever circumstances God's people or institutions might be going through,
please don't try to empower fear. Let us always keep hope alive in the sense that we believe that COVID will not be with us forever.
They can find a message of hope.
Sometimes God doesn't take us out of our trouble. What God does, He gives us the power to go through the trouble. And probably part of the power that He's giving us, it is actually this vaccine.
Keep serving, keep sharing, keep smiling.
Those of us who have hope in Christ, we also have the confidence that we are here to fulfill a certain agenda for the kingdom of God.
Rays of Hope, Mondays at 8 p.m. only on Kirk TV. Without health, there is no life.
But now when COVID came, everything has been disrupted.
If you go to the hospital, you're risking coming into contact with people. My baby is still small. I can't put a mask on her.
We need mental.
Most hospitals, even when you go to the clinic, they'll tell you it's a personal choice. So you do not know how it borders or what you're supposed to do exactly.
Physical.
You need to have a functioning facility. You also need to have skilled care attendants.
And social well-being.
I interact with people. Others who don't even care about wearing a mask. They don't even care about hygiene.
We point out the challenges faced in healthcare.
Now when we divert all the oxygen to treat COVID, what happens to the infant who needs oxygen?
And the solutions.
Above all, finances. We cannot say we need the money more than how we need to assist this mother.
And the girl child education contributes a lot. Income to families contributes a lot on how those decisions are made. Empowerment of women.
Health Nuggets, Mondays at 7:30 p.m. only on Kirk TV. Here on Transforming Families, we offer guidance.
Whatever salary you have, you can still manage a family.
Tackle matters viewed as difficult. You mentioned that if you're not working as a guy, why then are you getting married?
If a man does not have money, then you're not romantic enough to be married.
Hard.
The people born in the 70s and 60s are the ones that have failed the current generation.
And confusing.
We are talking about the cerebral children, the children who have been pampered. They are the ones who are not taking care of their own children when they give birth to them.
Creating stable families for a stable society.
Families are work, but you can work it.
All we want is the best for our families and for our families to be transformed and stable and strong together. Transforming Families, Saturdays at 8 p.m. only on Kirk TV. Jesus said, "Call unto me and I will answer."
How can you just leave a job and it's from that job that we were getting food and our daily bread, and then you tell us that God spoke to you?
Consider your ways.
Whenever Jesus was not received, he moved on.
Follow me.
Brothers and sisters, in following Christ, we lose. You may lose relationships.
It's an individual calling. Somebody who is committed to the one they are following.
But what is the cost of following Christ?
Following Jesus is not always after other ambitions.
Let the dead bury their own dead, but you go and proclaim the kingdom of God.
Call unto me every Wednesday at 8 p.m. only on Kirk TV.
Wakenya ni wapenda kazi na kila siku wapo mbioni kuchapa kazi. Kipindi cha Kazi na Mali ni rafiki, swahiba na kipenzi cha wachapakazi wote. Si jua kali tu. Kilimo shambani.
Kusema kweli, nguruwe ni wazuri.
Madini ya protein kwa huyu snail iko juu sana.
Biashara sokoni. Wajasiriamali wa aina zote, sanaa, wasanii. Guess what? It is busy. Tunatembea nawe kila hatua ya uvumbuzi na ubunifu wako ili kujikimu na kukimu uchumi wa taifa. Kazi na Mali, sisi ndisi, Kirk TV, hapa ndipo.
In every situation, there is a silver lining.
And we had for the first time, you are not going to meet in church. And we are going, how?
And whatever circumstances God's people or institutions might be going through,
please don't try to empower fear. Let us always keep hope alive in the sense that we believe that COVID will not be with us forever.
They can find a message of hope.
Sometimes God doesn't take us out of our trouble. What God does, He gives us the power to go through the trouble. And probably part of the power that He's giving us, it is actually this vaccine.
Keep serving, keep sharing, keep smiling.
Those of us who have hope in Christ, we also have the confidence that we are here to fulfill a certain agenda for the kingdom of God.
Rays of Hope, Mondays at 8 p.m. only on Kirk TV. Without health, there is no life.
But now when COVID came, everything has been disrupted.
If you go to the hospital, you're risking coming into contact with people. My baby is still small. I can't put a mask on her.
We need mental.
Most hospitals, even when you go to the clinic, they'll tell you it's a personal choice. So you do not know how it borders or what you're supposed to do exactly.
Physical. You need to have a functioning facility. You also need to have skilled care attendants.
And social well-being.
I interact with people, others who don't even care about wearing a mask. They don't even care about hygiene.
We point out the challenges faced in healthcare.
Now when we divert all the oxygen to treat COVID, what happens to the infant who needs oxygen?
And the solutions.
Above all, finances. We cannot say we need the money more than how we need to assist this mother.
And the girl child education contributes a lot. Income to families contributes a lot on how those decisions are made. Empowerment of women.
Health Nuggets, Mondays at 7:30 p.m. only on Kirk TV. Here on Transforming Families, we offer guidance.
Whatever salary you have, you can still manage a family.
Tackle matters viewed as difficult. You mentioned that if you're not working as a guy, why then are you getting married?
If a man does not have money, then you're not romantic enough to be married.
Hard.
The people born in the 70s and 60s are the ones that have failed the current generation.
And confusing.
We are talking about the cerebral children, the children who have been pampered. They are the ones who are not taking care of their own children when they give birth to them.
Creating stable families, for a stable society.
Families are work, but you can work it.
All we want is the best for our families and for our families to be transformed and stable and strong together. Transforming Families, Saturdays at 8 p.m. only on Kirk TV. Jesus said, "Call unto me and I
mind buzzing with wild thoughts, plagued with worthlessness, hopelessness, helplessness, then hush, her thoughts come to a standstill. She feels every bite of silence gnawing at her, and at this moment she realizes how alone she's been in all this. The girl behind the mask, she winces as she tries to lift her head. That monster of a headache is back for the third time tonight. She reaches for her bag and pulls out a handful of empty packs of painkillers. This has been her life for the last 5, 7, 9 months. She lost count. She pulls her tired self to the kitchen to get a glass of water, and she's greeted by a suffocating stench coming from the pile of dirty dishes lying in the sink. She's been planning to clean the mess up, only that she's been stuck in bed for the last 3 days, curled up into a ball, pillow soaked in tears and body numb with aches. Maybe if she takes a few more painkillers, a few more sleeping pills, she might get some sleep for at least 1 hour, if not forever. And while at it, her stomach grumbles, her acid levels are high. Again, she remembers not the last time she had a decent meal, or the last time she had a genuine laugh, or the last time she felt truly loved, or the last time she didn't feel sad. And alone, depression is the reason why she pushes everyone away, not because she doesn't need them, but because she doesn't deserve them. Reject them before they reject you, huh? Depression is the reason why she's scared of being alone, yet not wanting anyone around her. The reason why she's lost interest in everything she loves most. The reason why she comes to church late, takes the back bench, and leaves immediately after the grace. Depression is the reason why she will call work today, called yesterday, and the day before. It's malaria. She lies. It just never goes away, you know. What? But of course they won't understand. Not in a society where depression is a sign of weakness, a Western disease for the social misfits who can't man up to face their challenges just like everyone else. And so in silence she fades away, little by little. The girl behind the mask. The girl behind the mask who is perfect from the outside, who wears smiles from Monday to Sunday. But if you're keen enough to see beyond the high walls that she's put up, you'd see how she's been fighting to break free from death's strong jaws. You'd see how anxiety and the fear of the knowns and the unknowns have held her captive. You'd see how void of peace and deprived of love she's been. Then you would know that happiness is not a decision, it's never been. And maybe then you'd quit telling her to snap out of it, to stop being a big baby and pull herself together. Maybe that way she won't crawl deeper into the grave, deeper into the addiction to self-destruction. Maybe you'd offer comfort for just one more day, and maybe she'd let you in to see depression from where she stands, how it feels like your mind, body, soul, and spirit are bound with heavy chains to a heavy rock suspended in the middle of a dark old ocean that pulls you deeper and deeper and deeper with every tiny struggle, so you have to stay put. Yes, you want to die, but not this way. You want to pray, but heaven feels so far away. You want to cry, but the fear of adding into the water that is already overwhelming you holds you back. You've been drowning, but no one seems to notice, and so as hard as it is, you have to keep your head above the water and keep holding on to the glimmering hope that one day this too shall pass. The girl behind the mask. The girl behind the mask who needs you by her side just a little longer. Who knows, maybe she too will catch the flame that burns within you, and you give her the assurance that it's okay to ask for help, that it's going to be okay, that her morning is coming, that sooner or later light will flash out all the darkness in her, and she will know that she's never been alone, not for one single day. She will know that depression doesn't have to end in the grave. Rather, when she opens her heart to love, the Prince of Peace who calms every storm, who levels every mountain, who lifts every burden, who restores every broken wall.
All right, that is Unmasked, a piece by our guest artist today, Emily Warimu Kinga. Good morning to you, and thank you so much for staying this far with us right here on Kirk in the Morning. My name is Faith Kaulu, and I'm glad that you joined us this morning. Now, today in studio, we have a national treasure. You guys, we need to protect her at all costs because, wow, can you imagine that piece is from 4 years ago? And it's still very relatable. It still makes sense. It still impacts, you know. You're blessed. You're blessed. But thank you so much for joining us this morning in our studios. Yes. How are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm a bit tired. It's been a long week, but I thank God for the grace, and I'm grateful to be here this morning.
All right.
And how are you?
I'm doing good. Excited to have finally met you.
Don't ask you that question.
Yeah.
It's good to hear.
Yeah, but I'm excited and glad that we finally met. I get to see the brains behind the good work, you know, that we enjoy.
So yes.
For more of that, you know, follow her on her YouTube channel. Of course, we'll be telling guys where to get you as well by the end of this session.
Yeah.
But let's begin with you, Emily. When did you start doing spoken word?
It's been a while. It's like 10 years.
Okay.
I started back in 2012. Honestly, growing up, I didn't think I had any talent. And then I came to Nairobi, and then I attended several shows at KNT, different places that they were doing spoken word, and I felt very inspired. Like I felt it's something that I related to and something I could use to tell my story.
Okay.
So yeah, and then I found some content online that I really liked. There's a lady called Genetics from the US, P4CM. I was inspired. And then I decided to give it a start, and that was the beginning of the ministry.
And here you are.
And here we are 10 years later.
Yes. So 10 years ago, you were done with school? Or?
Yes, I was straight out of high school. Okay, not straight, but yes, out of high school.
Yeah.
Yes.
So then how did you become this good? I mean, if it's something self-taught, you know, most of the times when you interview artists, they say from a very young age, you know, small, I used to, you know, but then here you are, and you're like, it's from inspiration, and you self-taught. I mean, how did you become this good?
Thank you, first of all, for that. Flattering. I think for me, whenever I am committed to something or when I'm passionate to something, I give it time.
Okay.
So it took a lot of practice. I practiced a lot, and also I had people that would give me honest feedback.
All right.
You know, sometimes you don't want to hear that when someone tells you, "Oh, that one."
Yeah.
You need to go. I know, but I was open to that through my close friends. And it's still a learning journey. You know, you never become fully perfect.
Yeah.
Sometimes it happens, you forget lines, or stuff happens even when you're on stage ministering. But it's that commitment to keep becoming better at what you do.
Okay.
Yes.
Now that you mentioned about, you know, lines just vanishing and you're empty while on stage, let's talk about the most embarrassing moment you've ever had.
Let's just call it humbling.
Okay.
There's this one time I hadn't done anything for quite a long time, and then there's this show that happens at St. Andrews. It's called Poetry Spot. I think my heart was not in the right place. Let's say I had some pride because I felt like I had been away from the stage for a long time, so I was making a comeback. You know. And then I didn't even seek God concerning the whole event and everything. And then I go on stage and I start, and 3 minutes in, everything goes blank. I could not remember anything. And then I panic. I knew that the crowd is trying to encourage me, you can do it, but I think that was one of the most... I don't know. Sometimes God uses such experiences to teach you lessons, and I think for me that one was, this is not about you, because I felt I was telling God, why do you deal with me so harshly? I mean, not everyone prays before they go to, and they do well, and that's when actually for me it was dawning that it was actually ministry. You know, when you're going to battle, you don't just wake up in the morning and go. You really need to seek the face of God, and you need to be prepared. So It was a blessing in disguise.
Okay.
But yes, I think that's one of the things I will never forget.
All right.
The
Wow.
experiences I never forget.
So you're not only a brilliant artist and a spoken word artist, but you also have wisdom because look at that.
Thank
Self-awareness
you.
and all that.
Thank
It's
you.
admirable.
Thank you.
Let's talk about challenges you've experienced so far. I believe it has not been an easy journey.
Yes, I think for me, I try, or I'd rather do my best to share life experiences, and sometimes sharing that is a very painful process because you have to go back to things that you have experienced, because hatukujiita, you know, sometimes getting such content out there takes a lot of pain. Even writing it, but I think for me it's also been a way of healing.
Okay.
You know, the more you share something, the more you talk. Like most of my pieces are intense. I won't lie. They're pretty intense.
Yeah.
So sometimes getting that out, you're like, do I not? But then at the end of the day, you know you have the backing of God.
Yeah.
And you also get the feedback of how people are getting when you start to, and how people are getting their healing, and it's an encouragement. I think also the fact that it's somewhat a new art, so the media or the mainstream media doesn't embrace it like it would be for music.
That's true.
So you invest a lot of time and a lot of finances as well, but if you don't like push it, it's hard to get airtime, say on TV, so that has been one of the challenges. But I think even with all that, God has given me a lot of favor, and people still continue subscribing, people still continue watching, people continue sharing. So it's a challenge and a blessing. I think get to look at it from both perspectives. Yes.
Yeah, and now that you've mentioned how, you know, most of the time, actually I think all your pieces are from your experiences.
Yes.
And indeed, I think it's the vulnerability that comes with it. I assume it's very scary, putting yourself out there for people. But we also see the impact that comes from that. That's
And
really beautiful. It is worth it. And speaking of that, I think let's listen a bit to A Letter to My Dad, one of the pieces that I also really resonate with. Just briefly.
Dear Dad, in my entire life, I have never really held a conversation with you. You see, I feared not so much how you'd react if I told you exactly what was in my heart, but that you wouldn't even listen. So 25 years of silence, and here I am with a pen and a paper attempting to tell you that there are things you did, things you said, things you did not do, and things you did not say that really hurt me. So behold your daughter, the one who'd be the first to meet you at the gate whenever you came back home, the one who always cried for you whenever you left with the hope that you would be back again. I loved you, Dad, trust me. I did, and you have no idea how I longed to hear you say that you cared, that you were proud of me, that I was good enough, but no. And so what is what I received whenever I flaunted my good grace to you? A well done, my daughter, was too expensive for you, let alone a good education, and if time and space allowed me, I'll tell you how that injured my self-esteem, my confidence. I'll tell you how I tried to get validation from people around me, how I looked for you in every man that came my way. I loved you, Dad. But with time, all the love I had for you turned into fear, fear into hatred, hatred into bitterness, bitterness into indifference. And before I knew it, you'd cease to exist in my world. I got accustomed to your absence. I got accustomed to your heart-wrenching words. I got accustomed to pain, tears, and empty tummy.
I mean, Emily, that's a really beautiful piece out there. And just to see the kind of work you've put into it, because as you mentioned, people don't take spoken word art with the kind of seriousness we do with music. That's the honest truth. But looking at your work, you've really invested in it. Let me ask you why, you know.
Thank you. It reminds me of a conversation I was having with someone, and I was telling them the gospel is worth your investment. And for me, I believe that everything you find to do, you give it the very best. I am not working for myself. I am working for God. And so I felt from the very beginning I need to give it the attention that it deserves.
All right.
Because sometimes people will just do things and then throw it out there. But I think when you're working for God, there's also that attractiveness and seriousness that we need to put into the work. It's not easy investing in such. But I think, as I said, the gospel is what investing in. And now, you're not just looking at local audiences. You're looking at if it's on a global stage. Is this something that can be consumed? So you're not limiting yourself to just this geographical area, but it's by the grace of God, honestly. And I'm grateful. Yes.
When you put your work out there, what do you expect? What do you expect it to achieve?
There's always this prayer that I always make every time I'm releasing something, that God will use me or my voice as His mouthpiece. That it should not just be words that I speak and then they're out there. That it will come with power and that God will minister to the hearts of people. And I've had testimonies of exactly that. I've had testimonies of people who have reconciled with their fathers. This one has stirred a lot of stuff. I've had people who have testified that they were delivered from an addiction, or that they've been healed of depression, or they've been inspired to seek help. But at the end of the day, even if that feedback doesn't come, I know I'm acting in obedience. And I think that really helps, because sometimes you can be lost in the number of views, the number of likes, that's really not it. So long as God, even if He reaches out to two, and that whole investment was meant for those two, I think it's worth it. It's very unpopular, because you want it to grow into, but if God intends to reach just 10, and the minister too, then that's okay.
Then that's it.
Yes. Wow. So I got myself to a place of not really expecting, like a huge. Yeah, because what happens if it doesn't happen? And maybe God had different plans. Am I still going to be content, or am I just going to start complaining? Yes. So I think that's a lesson I thank God that I learned from the beginning.
Wow.
Yes.
Like I said, wisdom on top of wisdom on top of wisdom.
Thank you.
So to your fans out there, should they expect something? Is something on the way coming?
I do different things. There's this organization, rather ministry that we started. It's called Art Hill. I think it's just from my journey and being able to share my experiences through art and seeing how bringing Jesus into the conversation. So Jesus, therapy, art, just combining all that and giving young people an opportunity to share and to find spaces where they can openly talk about things. So we normally have an annual event. Every year we handle different topics. So the last one we had was in 2019. We've not been able to have another one because of COVID. But we're having it this year. On the 19th, actually it's next week, 19th of June. It's actually Father's Day. So we're having an event dedicated to fathers. We're calling it Dadversations.
Wow.
Just conversations about fathers. And we're going to be having that conversation through art. Different people are going to be sharing the stories. And my prayer, or rather our prayer concerning that, is one, that we will create a pathway for healing. Because daddy wounds are like, you talk to everyone. I don't know, I think fathers have been given such a big responsibility. Don't even want to go into that. But also that young men will be inspired to be present. Because if you see the kind of pain that it causes a whole generation just because of your absence or abuse, you would want to do better. And at the same time, telling positive stories of fathers who have been present and the impact that has had. So that will be happening on Sunday afternoon at Nairobi Cinema, and all of you are welcome.
charges, or is it free?
No, it's free of charge.
No charges.
No charge
Wow.
at all.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. It's
Sawa,
ministry.
sawa.
Kazi ya Mungu tunaifanya as yes.
All right.
Yes.
So 19th, mark your calendars, people.
Yes.
But before we end this conversation, there's a recent project you released, Revive Us Again.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about that.
Revive Us Again has been a personal prayer. If you notice, between that and the last one I had released, it was like 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years gap. A lot was happening in my life. Within 2 years, those 2 years, I lost my dad and I lost my mom, like within a period of 1 year. So I think for me, it has been everywhere, emotions, and so to some extent, I was mad at God. I was just feeling lost. And one of the things I decided from the beginning is that I'll never give from an empty place. Because you can't give from an empty place. You really need God to fill you up and before you're able to give. And so that was a long season of grief, unbearable grief. And I feel like my calling in this generation is like the calling of Ezekiel, to speak to the dead bones. But then I found myself as one of the bones. as one of the bones there, praying for Ezekiel, whoever.
That needed to be spoken to.
Before I even rise to the Ezekiel position. So that piece is a very personal piece for personally praying for revival. For to get to that place of life, because you can't speak life, you don't have life inside of you. So it has been a very personal prayer, and even beyond me, that the people who listen and have been in spaces, and maybe not because of loss, but many things happen. Even COVID took us to another place spiritually.
Definitely.
And it's a prayer that God would revive us and enable us for ministry. One of the things I noticed in the story is that these guys who were dry bones were initially an army. So who was fighting when they were all dead? No one was actively fighting on the side of God. And so you're revived for ministry. You're revived and you're empowered for ministry. Not to feel good about it and to just rejoice and feel energized. It's for ministry. So I pray that even anyone who encounters it and maybe had given up on ministry, or maybe they were hurt in church, or whatever area that they found themselves in, or even they became proud. We become too proud for ministry as well.
That's true.
That God would revive you and would give you, the zeal to get back and serve Him.
All right. Wow. Before I ask you to, give us a few lines from Revive Us Again, tell us where could people get you on social media pages?
Yeah, sure, definitely. I am online. I am on social media, on Instagram and on Facebook, Emily Werimo Kinga. Kinga is my newly acquired name. We're actually 6 months today. Yes, so Emily Werimo Kinga, and even on YouTube, Emily Werimo Kinga. Please make sure to subscribe and let's do this journey together.
You guys have had the wisdom and you've seen some of our good work. So follow and subscribe for more. Thank you so much for being here. I really wish we had more time.
I know.
I mean, the wisdom you're giving us, I don't want to let it go, but we have to wrap this up. So before we listen to your new piece, which is what we'll be leaving our fans with, our viewers, give us a few lines from it.
Like how long? Like a minute or?
Not long. Kidogo tu.
Okay. In this valley, there are tens and hundreds and thousands and even millions of us dead, dry bones. That's all that's left of us now, and it's not always been like this. Ask these hills if you want. These hills tell tales of our glory days, the altars of praise that we once raised to our God, the sick that were healed, the dead that were raised in the name of our God. We are the worshippers that were, the witnesses that were, the speakers, the teachers, the givers, the artists who heard, who saw, who felt, who believed, but not anymore.
Goodness, I want you to continue. Guys, you guys may have to attend where you're speaking, where you're performing. I'll come because I'm awed. Thank you so much for being here today. You are a blessing. I am so honored to have met you.
Yes.
And to everyone for tuning in, what will be your last word for them?
I don't know what exactly I would tell them. Maybe I'd speak to someone who has been in a space that I have been. You know, as much as I am an artist, I'm a minister first. Okay. And most of the time you find that people are giving from an empty place, and you don't have a place to release the pain and to talk about it and say, honestly, the reason why I've not been serving is because I've been hurting, or I went through a breakup, and you know, just to encourage people that it's going to be all right. Okay. Whatever it is that you're going through, it's going to be all right. And also encourage you to find spaces where you can be your true, authentic self. It's hard to find those spaces, but at Art Hill we provide those spaces. Okay. So if you're able to come for the event, I know you'll find a community that you can do life with a community of believers who have no judgment. That's one of the things I like about the community that we have. Yes, I think that's what I could tell someone who is going through a dark space. It's going to be well. It may not feel like it right now, it may not look like it right now, but it's going to be okay. It's going to be well. We have been there, and here we are celebrating of God's goodness.
So keep holding on.
Yes.
All right. So everyone who's tuning in today, thank you so much. Let's meet on the 19th. It's a date.
Yes.
Yeah. That's it from us right here on the entertainment segment. My name is Faith Kaulu. Till next time, guys. We're not leaving you like that. Here is Revive Us Again from Emily by Remo. Bye.
Bye. In this valley, there are tens and hundreds and thousands and even millions of us, dead, dry bones. That's all that's left of us now. And it's not always been like this. Ask these hills if you want. These hills tell tales of our glory days, the altars of praise that we once raised to our God, the giants of old that we conquered, the souls that were saved, the sick that were healed, the dead that were raised in the name of our God. We are the witnesses that were, the worshippers that were, the speakers, the teachers, the preachers, the givers, the artists who heard, who saw, who felt, who believed, who went, who did, but not anymore. Those days are long gone, gone with our hope. Can't you see there is nothing left of us? We are just but a forgotten and fallen generation. So we sprinkle our lifeless dust on this valley and watch it fly away with the wind. Yet night and day, echoes of our cry fill this valley. Ezekiel, for how long shall you be silent? Don't you know that you have the life of God in you? Your words, O Son of Man, are birthed of God. So speak, let them breed a new hope. You are the Son whose manifestation the creation awaits in eager expectation. You have been given to eat of the very substance of God, and from your belly rivers of life overflow. You carry fire in your bones, and the power of life and death resides in your tongue. So from his mouth speak, prophesy hope in the desolate places, light in the dark places, life into the dead bones that we are. And as you speak, the Almighty will dig us up from the graves where we lay and breathe us back into life. And together like a mighty army, we shall rise and march forth as witnesses to the nations, lifting up the banner of Jehovah El Gibor. And like a spark, glowing and growing and spreading, then bursting into flames, so shall we be fueled by the Spirit. With one voice we shall speak boldly, declaring the oracles of Yahweh in the high places and reclaiming all that has been lost to the locusts. We shall be unstoppable. The move of God in our midst shall be undeniable. The fire of God burning in us shall be unquenchable, and the harvest shall be immeasurable. So Father, hear our cry, for we have heard of your fame, and in your deeds we stand in awe. We pray that just like you did in the days of old, do it again in our times. Make known your deeds, O holy and true God. Cause our hearts to awaken to the knowledge of your truth. Draw us back to the love that we first tasted and restore unto us the joy of your salvation, O holy and true God. Cause a fresh inflow of your breath, your Holy Spirit, to enter into these dead bones so that we may live and see and hear and feel and believe and go and do again. Oh, holy and true God, revive us again.